Greetings and welcome again. Third time's a charm. We're grateful for our elected officials for making contributions to the symposium throughout. We'll hear from more of our mayors ahead. As highlighted in the Fort Wayne series, there is a perfect example of the persistent pursuit of people-to-people exchanges is highlighted in our theme this year. The Fort Wayne Sister Cities program really came to the committee's attention with the volunteering of Dorothy Kataka. Dorothy shared with us the story of an amazing citizen diplomat, and we knew that we had to have him as our keynote speaker. So for our next part of the program, Mr. Howard Chapman, the recipient of the inaugural Indiana Sister Cities Legacy Award, will be interviewed by his friend and colleague, Tom Herr. I'd like to welcome Tom and Howard.
Well, thanks, Peter. Are you able to hear me?
We can hear you.
Is Tom on?
Yes, I'm here, Howard, and I'm ready to begin.
Okay, well, Tom, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Peter. Thank you for inviting Howard and me to address the symposium. We're glad to be here, glad to be participating. And I wanted to say good morning and guten morgen and mingalaba and ohio gozaimasu to all of our international attendees today. This is very thrilling for me to be able to participate in this occasion. I'm truly honored to be able to share the stage with the likes of Dorothy Kataka and Howard Chapman. Howard's been my law partner and friend for many, many decades, and he is the one that was invited me to participate in Sister Cities about 20 years ago, and it has been a wonderful experience. And has been life-changing, and the friends that I've made it's just been more than anyone could hope for. I'd like to begin by asking Howard, who was involved in creating the Sister Cities program in Fort Wayne, what prompted him to do so, and how did he go about doing that?
Well, in 1975, I visited my brother, Bruce, who lived at that time in Seattle. He was on the city council there in Seattle at the time, and he was giving me a tour of the city, and I saw a pagoda on a street corner. And I asked him about it, and he said, oh, that's a gift to Seattle from our sister city in Japan. And so I said, well, what do you mean a sister city? And so he told me a little bit about it, and he said, doesn't Fort Wayne have a sister city? And I said, well, I don't know. So he said, well, next year, 1976, is going to be the bicentennial. It said Fort Wayne should look for a sister city, be a good project. So I thought, well, that's interesting. So I came back to Fort Wayne. I called a lady named LaDonna Huntley, who was at that time in charge of the bicentennial celebration for the coming year for 1976. I called her up and I said, hey, I've got an idea for your committee. Why don't you see about getting a sister city for Fort Wayne? Of course, she didn't know what a sister city was either, but so we talked about it and she thought it sounded interesting. So then I kind of went on about my business, but about a week later, I got a letter from our mayor, Ivan Levimoff was our mayor at that time, and he said, dear Howard, he said, I'm appointing you as chairman of our new Sister City Committee. I said, so, okay, I guess I'm in. He charged me with the responsibility to form a committee and go find a sister city for Fort Wayne. And so I did, and got some really good people at the time. And of course, one of the first things we did was contact Sister Cities International. They gave us some good leads. They were really helpful in telling us how to get started, how to form, what kinds of things we might expect and so forth. And we did try to start reaching out to various places. But one day, a man from Japan, he worked for, I think Mitsubishi at the time, he was in Fort Wayne on business, and he came into our Chamber of Commerce and he said, well, he wondered if Fort Wayne had a sister city, and the lady there had no idea what he's talking about, but one of her committee members was, or one of her Chamber of Commerce board members, I should say, was a member of my committee, a fellow by the name of Don Doxey. So she called Don up, sent the man to Don's office. Don called me, he brought the man to my office, and he told us about the fact that there was a city in Japan by the name of Takaoka that he thought would be a good sister city for Fort Wayne, and he thought that they would be interested. And it turned out that Takaoka was kind of about the same size, about the same climate, about the same kind of industrial base. And so it seemed like a good thing to try. And so that's how we started. He helped us make our initial contacts with Takaoka. They began to respond. They sent a small group of officials from Takaoka to come to Fort Wayne. And that's how we actually got started with our first sister city.
Can you see the photograph that's on the screen now, Howard, the signing of the agreement?
I do. We now in 1976 we had a formal agreement that was signed in Fort Wayne, and the vice mayor of Takaoka came and had part of that, and that was in 76. But in 77, the following year, Takaoka invited a delegation from Fort Wayne to come to Takaoka, and the picture you see is our then present mayor, Bob Armstrong, and the mayor of Takaoka signing again official sister city covenants and agreements in signing in Japanese and in English.
You know, one of the pieces of advice that I followed that you gave me when I was president of Sister Cities was that you always needed to get the buy-in or the support of the mayor, especially one that's newly elected and didn't necessarily have an interest in Sister Cities or even know what it was about. Can you share with us a little bit about your experience in dealing with the mayors of Fort Wayne and how it was you were able to get their support when you needed it?
Well, I found that when we got a new mayor, of course, over the years, we now have 5 sister cities, if we count Malamain. We had several changes in the mayor's office, and each time the mayor came in, it was usually of one party this time and another party the next time, and each time I had to go visit the mayor and persuade him that this was a good idea and that it wasn't that there was no politics in this. And it was interesting because the very first question that I always got was, well, what can this do for economic development? And I guess that's natural. And certainly in Fort Wayne's case, there has been economic development as a part of the as a part of the program, but I've always said, you know, it's important, but in my opinion, in my view, that's not what this is all about. This is about people to people, cultural exchange, understanding, getting to know people, creating friendships. And each time there was just a little bit of buy-in necessary, but we always arranged to get the new mayor to come to one of our sister cities. And once they did that, there was never any question after that. Then they were sold.
That always seemed to do the trick, right?
That's right.
On a lot of the experiences that you've had with traveling to our sister cities, I know you wanted to highlight one in particular. The photograph now is your wife, Betsy, with one of the first exchange programs Fort Wayne ever had.
Well, in 76, a lady named Hisako Tanabe came to Fort Wayne, with 10 high school girls from Takaoka, Japan. And Hisako, was an English teacher. The picture you see is taken the following year at their home in Takaoka. Hisako had spent the month living with Betsy and me. This is my wife, Betsy. And we, of course, became very good friends. And when we went to Japan the next year, we visited Hisako in her home. And as you can see there, Hisako is with her 2 young daughters. The youngest one is named Yumiko. And when we left, Hisako told us, he said, you know, Yumiko told me she wants to learn English because now she wants to be able to talk to Mr. and Mrs. Chapman. So I went to Takaoka again. I think the next time was 1989. I don't know if you have the next picture there, Peter. Well, this is 2 pictures later, but this picture was taken a few years ago. The young lady in the white sweater is Yumiko, that little girl, all grown up. Her youngest boy, who's now in college, and me, and of course, Hisako. Yumiko is fluent in English, has visited the United States with each of her children. We keep up. I write back and forth. We've had some great reunions. It's just been a terrific international friendship.
Yeah, really looks like it. Yeah. The years ago, I forget the year, 2016, perhaps, I was privileged to nominate you, along with others, for the award from Sister Cities International Volunteer of the Year Award, and we attended a very nice celebration in Washington, D.C. with Mary Kane there. And one of the highlights of your involvement with Sister Cities in Fort Wayne was the establishment of a scholarship fund for students to participate in student exchanges strictly with our sister cities, and then also to fund scholarships for students in our sister cities to come to Fort Wayne, which has resulted, since it was established, in hundreds of student exchanges between Fort Wayne and our sister cities. I'd first like to ask you, why was it that you felt creating an endowment for high school students and college students to participate in student exchanges with our sister cities? Why did you think that was so important that you specifically funded that exchange program?
Well, I saw the impact that it had when the people came to Fort Wayne and spent time here, the young girls from Takaoka, and I saw how it went on when I went to Takaoka, how important that was, and those girls had arranged to have girls of their age from Fort Wayne to come and visit them, and it just occurred to us that this is really important, that we need to get people to visit our sister cities and get people to visit us before they're grown up. We need to get them when they're young and impressionable and have an opportunity to realize what different cultures are like and can do. So we conceived of the idea of creating an endowment to fund what we call the Exchange Students Fund, so that young men and women from Fort Wayne can visit our sister cities, and also that the young men and women from those cities can come to Fort Wayne, and that's what it funds. And we set it up so that we treat each sister city equally. That is, we have so much a year to spend, and 1 year it'll be one city, and then the next year another. If there's enough to do 2 cities in the same year, we do that. But as you said, we've seen hundreds of students back and forth, and every once in a while I'll be out somewhere and someone will come up and introduce themselves to me and say, you know, years ago I went to Płock, Poland, and now I learned Polish, and I have a friend that lives there. It's just it's been very rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of these friendships between students will often bring in the entire family. I know there's a couple instances in our own law firm where a couple of our partners had children that participated, and pretty soon the whole family was participating in exchange programs, attending weddings of siblings of the students themselves, and it just kind of blossoms from these individual relationships. It's been remarkable, but not uncommon that happens in our town. So I really, I want to express my gratitude to be able to participate in those exchanges along with you. It was a wonderful thing that you did. A lot, and you want, but particularly several instances you've worked with Sister Cities International, and I know you wanted to comment today about your involvement with Sister Cities International and the cooperation you've received from them.
Well, they've been I really just elaborate on what I said before. Sister Cities International is just such a terrific resource for every city that wants to either start forming a relationship with a sister city, or maybe wants to know how to expand or improve on what they're doing. And they're just really a terrific group. And I can't say enough on behalf of the Sister Cities International.
And as you know, about 5-6 years ago, we started pursuing a sister city in Burma and Myanmar, and I can say we never would have gotten off the ground without the support of Sister Cities International. They showed us how to do it and who to contact, and made it possible. It was a long slog, but without their help, it never would have happened. I think we have time. We have time for one more question, I think, and you wanted to talk about a particular experience you had with the country of Bulgaria in a search for a sister city.
Well, if you remember, this was 1976, and our outgoing mayor, Levimov, because of his ethnic background, said we should explore finding a sister city in Bulgaria, and he had one in mind, and we contacted them, and they were just delightful. We had numerous correspondence back and forth. We exchanged small gifts by mail. No one ever got to visit here. But after a while, we finally said, if we're going to be sister cities, we need to do some formal signing and agreements and understanding and so on. And well, they told us, they found a way to tell us privately. They said, we're in the Soviet bloc, and the Russians absolutely will not allow us to have a sister city in the West. Mm. And they were very, they're very good natured and sorry about it, but they couldn't do it. And it struck me again a few years later, shortly after the Berlin Wall came down, that changed, and Fort Wayne adopted a sister city, Gera, Germany, which had been in East Germany, and I went with the first delegation to Gera, and it was amazing to talk to them and to learn about the restrictions they'd had and the fact that now they could do these things, and they were so pleased to be able to now have a sister city in the West.
Very nice. Peter, you wanted us to stop right about now?
The Indiana Sister Cities Legacy Award recognizes the outstanding legacy and contributions of an Indiana citizen diplomat. The recipient has demonstrated persistence in their support of sister city programs through personal commitment, engaging in and promoting peace and goodwill through people-to-people exchanges. Their legacy is seen in the next generation of citizen diplomats who create and sustain people-to-people exchanges based on mutually beneficial cultural, educational, information, and trade connections. Today, we are so honored to present the inaugural Indiana Sister Cities Legacy Award to Howard Chapman. And we thank you for your vision in founding Fort Wayne Sister Cities in 1976 and continue your support of the mission of Sister Cities International as an outstanding Indiana Citizen Diplomat. And so I would like to give you this award. It says Indiana Sister Cities Legacy Award presented to Howard Chapman, September 12th, 2020. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, Dorothy. This is a very humbling thing for me. I say that in part because so many people have taken up this cause, taken up this program over the years. When I think back to 1977, I can't begin to name so many people, but you're certainly one of them. You've been such a great supporter for so long, and so many others. And I'm quite humbled and quite honored, and I thank the folks who are presenting this to me, and I will promise you that I will treasure it.
Thank you so much. We're so proud of you, Howard. Thank you so much.